Welcome everyone to Long Island City. This is a very interesting neighborhood that I think has the potential to do some great things moving forward in the future. And I was starting here at a cafe called Sweet Leaf, which is a very interesting intersection here at the entrance of Long Island City towards Greenpoint. I started over here for one specific reason. I'll be going live only weekly for this May. So every Saturday at 1 p.m. I'll be going live. And the reason for that was because of the work I was doing right inside. I'm working on doing a few history-centric videos for urbanists, similar to the mini doc that I made for Rise New York. I'll bring that style over to YouTube. And that's a little bit more time intensive. And I'm working with a few other people trying to build a team in order to make these cities on a more rapid pace. So I was working at one of the scripts for the history of Broadway, which would be one of the videos. So stay tuned. I'm going to see how it goes. But this May, might be some very interesting videos popping up. But today I wanted to talk about 3 ways to improve Long Island City. Long Island City is located all the way in the north of Queens on the border of Brooklyn. And it has rapidly grown in the past few decades, specifically the past 2 decades. This used to be very industrial and now is filled with a lot of these high-rises. So let's walk around Long Island City and discuss a few interesting ways this could improve. Hey Wendy, hello S. Fields, hello George. Hello, Nomades. Hello, Ronald. Nice to see you here. Hello, Daryl from Chicago. Daryl, thank you so much for tuning in from Chicago. I enjoyed going to your city, and it has inspired one of the things on my list here today. Hello, Marco. Hello, Reverend Jenny Osario. Nice to see you here. Dan says, why is everyone leaving New York City? Does Long Island City still have a shot of growing? It does, yes. Not everyone's leaving NYC. News might use the word everyone is leaving NYC. That is a gross exaggeration. In conversation, people might say that, of course, but take it with a grain of salt. A few people are leaving NYC. Maybe a few hundreds or thousands of people, but the city is still a city of 8 million people. So right here is the first thing I think that will improve Long Island City. What do you think it is? So for a little bit of geography, right now, that way is the 7 train. And here we have what used to be the old Citibank building, now is a different name called Altus. And this is the road that leads to the Pulaski Bridge that goes over to Greenpoint. However, in order to get to Greenpoint, it's a bit tricky because you have to do either one of 2 things. Walk about 10 minutes that way and catch the G train, which runs through Greenpoint, or wait for a bus right over here, the B32 or the B62, which just a moment ago was filled with a lot of people waiting, and these buses don't pass that frequently. I think it's every 20 minutes or so. Or, of course, walk or bike across the Pulaski Bridge. But here we have like a massive road system that of course allows people who are using the car to flow through between these 2 boroughs. But I think it's too much space is dedicated to car space over here. Anonymous Dude says, thank you for the stream. My pleasure. So let me know in the comments, what do you think could be done over here? Hey, Bella. Nice to see you here. Hello, Susie. Welcome. Photo says dedicated bike lane. You know, that is that's not what I was thinking, but that is a very good point. To bike across here is a B, as like to say. You can fill in the rest of the word. It's a B to bike through here because you have to. There is a dedicated bike lane, which is nice. It's still right next to a bunch of cars. Hello, Isabel. Nice to see you here. So a few years ago, New York City proposed this idea, what was called the Brooklyn-Queens Connector. Right over here. Let's pop this up. This Brooklyn-Queens Connector would be a tram or a light rail similar to what we saw in Seattle that would run on street level, at least most of the way through, and it would connect literally the waterfronts of Queens and Brooklyn. So it would go all the way up from the very tip of Astoria, close to Randall Island, and all the way down to Sunset Park. Now this, of course, unfortunately, was rejected because they thought that this, A, was too expensive, B, it basically imitates the route of the G train, but kind of, because it's only halfway through the G train, and C, people who live in these parts, which tend to be higher end neighborhoods, complain that there will be too much construction and too much noise. But that is exactly what New York City needs. Another issue that people said was that it would only benefit the rich neighborhoods of New York City. And in this case, it would, because waterfront property is indeed hot right now. And Long Island City is definitely more higher end than a little bit deeper into Queens. But it doesn't mean that we don't need it. Because if we had a tram over here that could connect from Astoria, Queens, which a lot of people don't realize, a lot of the neighborhoods above Long Island City, further north, are actually very low-income neighborhoods that could use a connection via transit that doesn't require a 20-minute walk or a 20-minute bus wait. And then further down in Brooklyn, beyond, say, Red Hook, is also neighborhoods that could need a tram network that doesn't require a 20-minute walk or a 20-minute bus ride. And that is exactly what would improve this area of Long Island City. Because when you have a transit connection, it encourages development, it encourages people to move here, it encourages small businesses. We're dedicating way too much time here, too much space for vehicles. And the vehicles over here are actually louder than any transit network would be. So light rail, if you saw my Seattle videos, you've noticed that light rail was actually pretty quiet. We barely heard the rail when walking through Seattle and when taking the Seattle rail itself. So what do you think? Let's go on to the next part, shall we? All right, let's walk this way. Hey, Scott, we're backtracking a little bit. We're gonna walk further into Long Island City. So there's one other thing. Right over here, we actually already have part of the infrastructure that could help with the light rail. It's gonna be a little bit hard to see, but right back here, there is a railroad track that's still in use, still connects with the rest of Long Island. Scott says Red Hook isn't that rough anymore. Yeah, part of Red Hook is indeed low income. Part of Red Hook is getting higher end, so it's kind of a mixed. But beyond Red Hook, it's still low end, low income. We start getting down to Sunset Park. Well, Sunset Park is not low income, but medium income. Esfield says, Astoria, in my opinion, is a great place for people to move to New York City. Indeed it is. Oh no. So Gary makes an excellent point. He says that in Edinburgh, the trams are so quiet that people constantly ping their bells to warn people crossing them. Exactly, Gary. I think there's a misconception here with New York and most of the US, that public transit is loud. No, that's loud. The constant car honking, the constant chugging of combustible engines running through the streets, the constant rumble on the actual asphalt. That's louder than the tram. Places. The CSX owned the tracks on Long Island. Oh, I don't know, Adam. That's a good question. So Adam is referring to a company that has owned many tracks within New York City for many decades. CSX. I'm not sure if they own tracks in Long Island. I think Long Island is mostly owned by the Metro North. I mean, Metro, New York City Metro. The LIR. So when it comes to building transit networks, it's crucial to grow a city. So you can think of a city as a human body. A human body needs arteries to pump blood. And of course, we need our water systems, our pipes, our electric lines, gas networks, but we also require transit in order to move around. If there's no network for moving around, or if the network is too slow, like cars usually are, then the city won't grow. There'll be a limit. Things will get too expensive. People won't be able to live here. And that's why right now there's very low housing. That's why some people are moving out of the city, because it's too expensive to live here. There's not enough housing. And one thing that can incentivize more housing being built is better transit. Susie says, when are you announcing your run for mayor? You know, sometimes with projects like these, being a mayor isn't enough. I think that's more for governors, can have a little bit more power in rebuilding transit networks. Okay, yeah, there was some loud music. Liam is going to New York next year. Oh, so cool. Neil says they have light rail along the New Jersey waterfront. They do, yeah. I still have yet to take it. Actually, I'm going to do that soon. But yeah, New Jersey is doing it right in that context. So we're starting to see the high rises down there. Sharon says, so happy you're in New York. I'm so glad to be in New York, yeah. Forest Hills and Regal Park are decent areas in Queens, says Scott. Indeed they are, yeah. New York is filled with a lot of great areas, especially Queens. So this is how a transit network would look like. This was one of the renderings they had for the light rail system here. Which actually looks kind of cool. I like it also that they set it in like in a rainy day in New York. It's very, very clever of them. Makes it look like very Blade Runner-like. Wendy says, I'm sleeping well too. Indeed I am. Esfield says, the real estate market is transforming in New York City. Not enough affordable apartments, but lower demand for office and commercial space. Yeah, exactly. More and more newer industries, at least with the tech industry, it's not so crucial to have office space, or at least as large of an office space as we used to. For example, Facebook owns I think it's like a 15-story building. It's around there, 15 to 20-story building in Greenwich Village, which I visited myself. It's huge, but since a lot of Facebook employees are working from home, you don't really need it. So what do you do with that empty office space? One thing that has been happening in the Wall Street area is converting that office space into apartments. Though those apartments aren't quite as affordable for a lot of people, it is a start. But there needs to be more apartments here. For example, let's look around right here. Tell me something that you notice as we look around here. Let's compare this right over here to, say, a Paris. Like right in central Paris. What's the difference? Hey, Kay says the weather looks great. Yes, it does indeed. Photos from New York says, what do you think about dedicated bus lanes? I don't like buses too much. I think I prefer things on rails. But actually, buses, London does buses very well. Many other English cities do buses amazingly well. So buses can be done well. But I do love trams because they're quieter than the bus. Bus usually they're not electric. They still require huge engines. So they tend to be a little bit louder. Susie says, is this a trick question? Is there a prize for the quiz that said Gary? Anonymous dude says open. Anonymous dude got it right. Yeah. Empty lots. ABX girl got it right too. Empty lots. Yep. So you compare this to a Paris. Paris, there isn't empty lots. At least for the majority of the center arrondissements, the center neighborhoods, you don't see empty lots. This is something that puzzles me in New York City. Is we got these empty lots that aren't used for years, and yet there's more than 400,000 empty apartments. Now, of course, we have high-rises, but these high-rises are very high-end high-rises, very high-end. So we don't have these lower-end, more medium-end apartment buildings like this one. We could build more, but why aren't we building more? It's kind of confusing. There's two reasons. A, it's not really that profitable, or there's no that much incentive to build more middle-class housing, or these like 5-story apartment buildings as opposed to a 20-story or 30-story luxury building. And then the second thing is, right over here in the corner, I'll show you. SVL says, too expensive, too many permits and bureaucratic requirements. Right? All stacks up right here. Look at this. Look at this. What is this? Photos for us says Williamsburg, Brooklyn runs an electric bus. Oh, okay, I will look into that. Blue River says the difference, there's no French people. Touche. So right here, what's happening here? This is a parking lot. Neil is right, it's a parking lot. It's a huge lot. 400,000 apartments are missing in New York City. And we have a parking lot. I get it, it's a nice bonus, for the owners of this building, but is this really necessary? Should a major city that has one of the biggest transit networks in the world and could expand this transit network require this much for parking? And then right next door, this hasn't been developed in years. Susie says people love their precious cars. Indeed, indeed. We are addicted to cars. Like a junkie is addicted to crack. Esfield says it looks empty. Yeah. Right. Pretty empty. And the parking lot is not even used. So you know how much space cars take up? Cars take up 2/3 of our streets. It's huge, the amount of space a car takes up as opposed to a bus. So a lot of people say, oh, buses are big and clunky, or light rails big and clunky. Think about this. One of these cars could fit 5 people. An SUV, maybe 6 or 7 people. But how many people are usually even in the car when they're using it, driving through the city? 1 or 2. It's very rare that you have a family all driving out at the same time every single day, every time they use the car. In the suburbs, it's worse. A lot of people are using 1 car per person, so a family household in the suburb has 3 cars. So 5 cars, 5 people maximum for a vehicle. It's not even being used to capacity, as opposed to a bus. A bus minimum is 50 people, and I think a maximum is like 100 people. It's a big difference. A train is even more capacity, or light rail is more capacity than the bus. So that is a big difference. What? Yeah. Someone was saying something random, I have no idea. But yeah, it's a big difference. Wow. Marco says jetpacks. Yeah, jetpacks would be so inefficient that would just clog up our skies. Buses are great in Edinburgh. Lots of electric ones. Oh, that's good to hear. And they're launching a driverless one in the summer. Oh, that's awesome, Gary. Yeah, London has a few electric buses. They had a few issues with the electric bus system. Daryl says some cities like Chicago have reduced public transportation. Yeah, it kind of boggles my mind. Chicago was weird because they have a good system, but I was waiting 20 minutes for a bus and 20 minutes during the weekends for a train, which is crazy long. All right, here we have the views of the New York City skyline. Look at that. Beautiful. Wendy says, wow, knockout. I love these views. Oh yeah, views are gorgeous. Esfield says, it's not about banning cars, it's about reducing unnecessary excessive use by investing in public transportation. That's right. Darryl says big cities blame it on the big C rather than than loss of trains, hiring new bus and train operators. Oh yeah, beautiful views. You never get tired of these views, truly. Wow. So Adam says a great thing. He says, try go to the Netherlands for a week and take public transportation. You'll notice that you'll never have to look at the schedule. That's right, yeah. You never have to look at the schedule in the Netherlands. Now, one common, and let me put on my sunglasses, one common, how would you say, argument against public transportation needing to be more efficient is people saying, oh, 20 minutes, it's not that bad of a wait. Like, what are you complaining about? Or, oh, the buses run frequently. We're the richest country in the world, so I don't know why we're complaining so much about how much money things cost. If they have to wait or make their schedule around the bus schedule or around the train schedule, they tend to prefer a car because a car is just more convenient at that point. Even though it's going to be more expensive, it's still more convenient. So public transportation, you can't count on them to make their schedule around the public transportation. You have to make the public transportation work for them. And that's all classes. Doesn't matter whether you're high class, medium class, or low class. In countries like Japan, the high class, and parts of Europe, the high class do still use public transportation. High income people still use public transportation. That's a misconception we have here in the US. Oh, if you make more than $1 million per year, you're not going to use public transportation. Yeah, other cities, they do. Here we have beautiful tulips. Peter says the MTA is incredibly inefficient. And they spend way too much money due to its inefficiency. Stunning, yeah. Stunning tulips. And of course, as a disclaimer, I'm spitballing over here, so a lot of the things I'm saying is off the top of my head and for the sake of conversation. So this is not by no means a lecture, by no means it is scripted or planned. So do your own research afterwards. Here's a nice heart. Yeah. Susie says waiting 20 minutes for the bus is like is terrible waiting in a heat wave or extreme cold. Indeed, yes. we have about 5 minutes to show you another way that we can improve Long Island City. But here's something that already has improved Long Island City. So many years ago, Hurricane Sandy ravaged New York, causing massive flooding in the lowland areas of the city, such as the Lower East Side, East Village, and certain parts here in Long Island City. And many, many other parts around the Flushing Creek, around the Jamaica Bay area. A lot of places were flooded, especially basements. This was terrible for the city because there's also electrical plants right by the water, as we see right down there. I'll point out to it right here. So the city had to do something. They had to build barriers in order for rising tide to not overfill into the city area. So Long Island City did something ingenious. They ended up making this park. And this park was built from the ground up in order to stop a tide, a surge, coming in from a major storm. And this is one of their innovations. Right here, this area, this lawn, is actually meant as a way to allow water to fill up before continuing onto the street. So this can hold tens of thousands, I think even more than that, tens of thousands of gallons of water. So if this overfills, right here, this will fill up first into like a pool before it continues on to this school over here. Now, all things have been done under here, which is beyond my scope of knowing, but right over here, a lot of things are actually accounted for. Hey, how's it going? Are you... Oh, you do? Oh, cool. Thank you so much for tuning in.
I miss it.
Oh, yeah. It's a beautiful city, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. What's hard? The apartment is expensive.
Yeah.
Without videos.
Right.
I'm a YouTuber.
You are? Oh, cool.
I watch the videos.
I'm glad. I got to continue on with my video, but thank you so much for tuning in.
All right.
Yeah, have a great day, man.
What happened there? Oh, that's cool. Oh, how good?
Yeah, I got to continue on with my video, but have a great day. Thank you so much for saying hello. Oh, cool. Oh, awesome, man. Oh, cool. Daryl, nice to meet you, man. All right, I got to continue on with my video. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Okay. So as I mentioned, I'm okay with saying hello for a few seconds, but please, I ask, do not follow me while doing the video. Always happy to say hi for a few seconds. All right, let's continue on with the show. So let's go on to Newton Creek. Hey, Danny says tomorrow you could go to New Jersey. Indeed. An honest dude says it's a great show. Yeah, I mean, these views are just impeccably beautiful. All right, let's go right over this way. Uh-oh, popular music. Okay, pro tip. There was some popular music playing, so I had to mute. Pro tip, there's public restrooms over here. Then behind, right here, the NYC ferry stop of Hunters Point South. And there's also free volleyball, which is actually the coolest thing. That feel says you're a superstar. Indeed, yeah. Of course, I'm happy that people enjoyed the show as much, but as I am alive, it is very distracting if someone is trailing me, and I do understand the enthusiasm, but please, I ask, only say hi for a few seconds, and let me be on with the show. All right, let's go on to Newton Creek, and here we see one other thing that I think there's a huge misconception when it comes to designing more to build a bigger city, to densify a city. A lot of people think there has to be a bunch of high-rises, but high-rises are just meant solely for being more efficient, for luxury housing. So it's cheaper for a developer, of course, to just buy one lot and maximize that space by building very high. That makes a lot of sense. But that's not the only thing there has to be in order to grow our cities and add more housing. AAPLL. Hey, Scott says, have you been to the new library here? You know, I've not walked into the new library. So Scott is referring to the library further down, and it's really cool. Architecturally wise, I have not been into it yet. Maybe I'll sneak in one of these days. I think libraries here, anyone can walk in at any point. All right, I drink some water. I'm thirsty. Enjoy the views as they drink some water. There we go. So here's another thing that they did for storm storages right over here. So marshes, swamps area. So New York City used to naturally have these before massive development, because we developed a lot of these areas in order to have ports, piers, docks, and slips. So we destroyed a lot of the marshes. But it's these marshes and of course these rocks and everything stop any massive storm surge. And of course they have a system of pipes underneath as well in order to redirect any overflow of water. Claudia says, is this the New Jersey side? No, it's not. We are right now in the New York side. Janice, nice to see you here. Magandang umaga to all the Filipinos tuned in. Welcome. Will you take that elevator? Let me know. Rob says, how peaceful. Yeah, it's super peaceful. Esfiel says, I cannot imagine walking here at night without pepper spray. No, you know, Long Island City is very safe. I've been here late at night. It's very safe. And there's always people coming here to the park, especially toward the later end of the night. You have people come here, families coming here until like 11 p.m. So it is very safe. Flying Squirrel says, nope, not that elevator. Scott says, nah, LIC is not like that anymore. At night, you'll find them mostly deserted. Adam says, is elevators considered public transportation? Not public, but is. Here it is. Now we're starting to see the Williamsburg Bridge down there in the distance. Wow. Brian says this area has changed so much. Nice views. Oh yeah. And here we have Greenpoint. So unfortunately, Greenpoint is disconnected from Long Island City. You can take a car, which is a bit tricky, because of course, you know, you have to park first and come over here. Or you could take the ferry, but the ferry you have to walk down there where we started, all the way around over here, which is a little bit of a pain. There was one proposal in order to build a walking bridge, and I think that's genius. Unfortunately, that has been also rejected. I'm not sure why they rejected that. Hey, Ariel, thank you so much for sending 200 stars. I appreciate you. Oh, wow. That's beautiful. This Shabbat Shalom, Eli. Eli, thank you so much for tuning in. What are these? Do let me know. Oh, there was. Ida says amazing spring. Look, here we have it. The views of Long Island. Long Island City is huge. No wonder it has the name city in it. It could be a city on its own right. It's bigger than European cities, that's for sure. Right over here is also a Long Island Railroad stop. Actually, there's two branches on, I think, yeah, one branch of the Long Island Railroad right down here. But that only runs during rush hour in the weekdays. Rainette says there's cherry blossoms. Oh, cool. Okay, that's awesome to hear. Susie says, I hope you one day show everyone the beauty of Transmitter Park in Greenpoint. I have been to Transmitter Park in Greenpoint. I'm not sure if they transformed it yet. Transformed the transmitter. But I've shown this waterfront back in summer 2020. It's beautiful. I wonder if there's any nice hotels here. Kay, that's an excellent question. Yeah, Long Island City is becoming quite the center for major hotels. Williamsburg, of course, has the very trendy, hip. The city has boutique hotels that are a little bit more affordable. So everyone, behold what I think should become New Chicago. The Newton Creek. 3.5-mile estuary that snakes in through the border of Queens and Brooklyn all the way towards Bushwick. This is an interesting opportunity for development. This can make an entire new downtown Manhattan here in Queens and Brooklyn, connecting both boroughs, making hundreds of thousands of new apartments. And also a new ferry network that will connect through into the estuary, stopping and providing service in the Newton Creek, connecting all these neighborhoods that are pretty disconnected from the rest of the city. This is a huge opportunity because right here, this area of land is post-industrial. So that means industry is really not that heavy here anymore. Some places are outright abandoned. So that means land prices are going to be very cheap. And it can also be very cheap potentially to redevelop. So here's how the estuary looks from the ground up. Aerial view. And here's the map. Probably already are familiar with how Chicago looks like with the Chicago River. This is about the same size as the Chicago River right over here. And let me see if I can pull up a photo. I definitely took a lot of photos right here. Hey, Andrea Lagos, nice to see you here. Danny says, do you like New York or Europe more? I think New York is the closest city to what makes Europe awesome. A lot of places in Europe amazing. So those are my two proposals here. Now, unfortunately, this comes with a little bit of a dark side. Right underneath the Newton Creek is calculated to be about 20 feet of a substance that many scientists have called black mayonnaise. It is a substance that has collected over time because this used to be one of the most polluted waterways in the entire world. One of the largest oil disasters happened here as well. 30 million gallons of oil spilled upon the creek, causing a multi-billion-dollar problem that had to be fixed. However, I think we can work around that. It might not be perfect for swimming, but I think it's perfect for moving around. No longer does it smell as strong as it used to. It used to be a very terrible smell back in the day. And maybe if you lived through the 70s, 60s, you probably know that the smell was even worse. So Susie, let us know. And then we have a few other Bushwickers and Williamsburgers that have been tuning in that lived through that era. So no longer the smell. So the smell's not going to be an issue. Yeah, you can't swim in it, but you can run ferries through it, and I think at least. And also, it'll be so cool. Wouldn't you think it would be so cool to have a Chicago-like skyline with a small little estuary that you are surrounded by these skyscrapers, but with bridges connecting through them? I'm not sure how important this is still to industry. Let me know if anyone's an expert in that field. But if it's not that important, or if it could be moved to a different place, then this is an incredible opportunity right over here. Susie says, I don't recall the smells in the 1970s. Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. The dirty waterways, you can still find shorebirds. Yep, you can. So here you can easily build a new city within the city, because this is adjacent to the Sunnyside Gardens area, which I've done a live video of before and talked about a similar topic, where it's massive train yards right over here that can easily be decked over in order to make a lot cheaper real estate for massive development. Now this development will trickle down through the other neighborhoods, because if there's bigger buildings, more businesses, that means more foot traffic and more people coming here. More coffee shops, more smaller companies building up around here, and other things like that. Gwen says, let's do something to help the water quality. Yeah, there's been other crazy plans out here. One plan is to actually make this into a beach, but that has also been turned down. I would not want to swim here, no matter how pretty they can make it look like a beach. But yeah, those were one of the plans, to make a huge Newton beach. So there we go. 3 ways to improve Long Island City. In brief, to wrap up, 1, build a Brooklyn-Queens connector tramway throughout the waterfront of Brooklyn, from Astoria, Queens, all the way even beyond Sunset Park, down to Bay Ridge, so you can connect the ferries as well. So people can either use the ferry or they can use the tram. And connect these waterfront properties, because they're not only good for servicing a bunch of neighborhoods, but they're also great for tourism, because these waterfronts are becoming excellent tourist destinations. Also could get a boost in other tourist attractions like the Smorgasburg in Williamsburg. The second thing is to redevelop this creek, make it into a huge new city center, huge massive downtown, with the third, adding a ferry that goes through here. And of course, other transit networks connecting it. The Long Island Railroad could be opened up here now full time in order to service a lot more people coming in through. So let me know what you think. Susie says, "How can we make this happen?" I don't know. You know, I'm not too into politics. I know they have business meetings. I mean, not business meetings. They have community meetings for all of these projects. But these projects sometimes are bigger than just the city. The city can't really sign off on them because the city doesn't have the money. Usually, it's the state, and usually the state will need some federal help. That's why New York City, for example, was able to build massive highways, was through federal help. And the state was organizing all this. And also we gotta cooperate. Here, luckily, we don't have to cooperate with New Jersey, but if we were to do bigger projects on the other side of Manhattan, then it would require regional cooperation with New Jersey. Or if we were to connect Long Island with Connecticut, that also require two states working with each other, which is very tough in the US. Not like countries in Europe where it's a lot easier for regions to cooperate with each other. So I hope you enjoyed this broadcast, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back next Saturday, not tomorrow, but the next Saturday after that at 1 p.m. There'll be a philosophical chat on the Friday, next Friday as well. I'll announce that. But the Saturdays of May, I'll be up at 1 p.m. And then June will be a new schedule. We're going for 200 patrons by June 1st in order to show you the best of Europe, which you'll see in a combination of live videos and also potentially also mini documentaries, which I'm going to experiment with this May. Stay tuned for that. And then also patrons will continue getting bonus content regardless. So 360 videos, you also have access to full uncut tours of awesome house museums in London. Soon you'll get a full uncut insider's tour of Wrigley Field just for patrons and members or YouTube, Facebook supporters. So patreon.com/urbanist. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in from New York City. Keep being awesome and always keep on exploring. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye. New York, New